Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go video. Today we're going to be showcasing Venusaur in the Open Great League. This Pokemon is super strong, and shout out to the opponent here. They're running Probopass, unfortunately with Rock Throw or whatever that move is, and they swap out to Superior, and this is where Venusaur is so deadly. We've got back-to-back Sludge Bombs loaded, Sludge Bomb number 1 going through. I decide to bank a Frenzy Plant and look to go into Walrein. Now this opponent can fire off, of course, Leaf Tornadoes, and does this Pokemon know Frenzy Plant yet? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I think it knows Aurelius. The opponent's going to shield up a super effective Icicle Spear. We could shield once and basically guarantee both of the opponent's shields. Of course, the opponent is getting attack debuffs, which is super annoying. And you're going to see this Icicle Spear go through right now, even though Buffed does not take it out. That is the power of that move, and the opponent is able to farm us down. We're going to come back in here with Registeel, look to farm it down with Lock On, and then look to threaten the Probopass if it comes back in with a super effective Focus Blast. Anyway guys, welcome into the video, hope you're all having a fantastic day. Do me a really quick favour, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, it very much helps me out, and if you're going to watch the videos anyway, you might as well subscribe, it is absolutely free. And in comes Probopass here again. I'm not even sure what moves this thing had at this point. I think it knows like Rock Slide, yeah, Rock Slide, and Zap Cannon of course is the newly buffed move, so I was thinking Zap Cannon Rock Slide. So this is kind of like a quote-unquote Perman's Registeel, except for Rock Slide, it's just not quite as useful as Lock On, or not Lock On, Focus Blast. Anyway, getting back on topic here, talking about Venusaur, so this thing just has like an absolute truck at the moment, and if you think about what you're seeing in the meta, an absolute ton currently, Medicham, Venusaur absolutely wrecks Medicham. You're seeing a ton of Sableye safe swaps and leads. Once again, Venusaur outpaces and wins CMP, well actually paces equally to Foul Plays. But the Frenzy Plants, if you land one of them, you're able to farm down the Sableye before they can get off multiple moves. You're now seeing a Fairy in the lead, once again that's amazing. And this is such a funny match, we catch the Icicle Spear on Walrein. Now at this point we actually I think sneak through a Powder Snow as well, meaning that we're going to outpace to the Earthquake, so the opponent's just an absolute mess. And the top left, immediately. In comes Lantern, so very positive lead. And in comes the Sableye safe swap, and this is what I'm talking about with Venusaur. Frenzy Plant number 1 coming through. If the opponent lets us go through, it'll absolutely wreck them. The opponent wants us to swap out, but we're not going to make it that easy for them. We're going to shield up, we're going to match shields on this thing, and we're going to look to fire off Frenzy Plant number 2. In comes Frenzy Plant number 2, and if I wanted to, I could stay in this match and basically force both shields and force switch advantage with Venusaur. What I decide to do is come in with Walrein, because of course it is super weak to Lantern, and I'm going to go for a huge overfarm right here. Now I know that I can basically die to one foul play here, but what I want to do is threaten the Lantern when it comes back. They aggro swap back into Lantern of course, because we delayed the switch timer. Earthquake coming through, that's going to do a lot of damage to this thing, and it's going to put us in a farm down range for Venusaur. That's the amazing thing about Walrein, that Earthquake coverage allows you to hit all of the Steel types and all of the Lanterns. Now we're going to come in for a farm down here, we're going to have to eat it move, it's going to hurt. Venusaur, you know, it's bulky enough, but it's not like super bulky. That Surf added up very quickly there. And in comes a Noctowl. We do not want to see Noctowl. My switch timer is still locked, and we need to come into Registeel here at this point. This is looking very tough here. We'll see what the opponent does. In comes Sableye, and this thing is super low, because Venusaur has just absolutely run through this thing. And of course, Walrein had its way with it a little bit as well. The opponent realizes that we're getting to 2 moves, and that's going to be a good game. Also in today's video, we're going to have an ELO reveal, so you can see what my starting ELO is, and we're also going to have the talk today. We're going to have the algorithm talk today because, you know, my account is on easy mode in this video. We're on easy mode right here, and then maybe a little bit later on we get into hard mode. But what I noticed here, right, you guys can let me know in the comments section down below, because I know that before I started using Venusaur and Walrein, I was seeing barely any Venusaur and Walrein. I think in the over, what, like 100, 200 battles that I've run, I think I've seen about 3 Venusaur up until today, and I think I've seen like 2 or 3 Walrein. As soon as I started running Venusaur and Walrein, I started getting an absolute ton of grass types. I started seeing an absolute ton of Venusaurs, a ton of Walreins. Of course we've got a Marowak here, which is a super core breaker for this team, and that's why we went with Walrein, because of course it's got the joint water typing, and it's got that extra coverage with Earthquake, right? And we're going to be able to farm this thing down. But, you know, if you guys are algorithm enthusiasts, as I would like to put it, you're going to enjoy this video, because you're going to see me run into, like, just a ton of grass types, which, to be honest with you, I never see grass types in this meta, because there's just so many ice types floating around. So the fact that I'm seeing, like, Superiors, Ferrothorns, opposing Walreins, opposing Venusaurs, and we're going to see some Trevenants here later on. I think it's just super funny that as soon as I start running it, I start running into the same sort of Pokemon. And like, I'm not even complaining about it, like, oh, my account's on hard mode, Niantic has got me locked in. That's just nonsense. Like, that's just, you know, victim mentality right there. If you ever hear anybody saying stuff like, I'm locked in and stuff, it's just pure victim mentality. And the inability to take responsibility for your own misplays and the inability to try to improve. That's what that is. That's not what I'm talking about. I just think that the algorithm is in the game, and it's so obvious whenever you're playing at these early levels, because you can quite easily get matched up against opposing Pokemon of the same typing, and it's just funny to see in my personal opinion. It's quite annoying at times, but you know, it's just very funny. We get in the Zoomer lead. We're in easy mode right now. I'm gonna stop because people do get pretty annoyed by this conversation, so let's just leave it there. I just thought it was funny, that's all. In comes Sableye, and this thing is just going to get absolutely clapped. Look at this thing, it's just going to get absolutely clapped. We're going to look to catch on Reggie because basically we've got it into Zap Cannon range, and that's all I need. I've banked some energy on the Venu, and we're just looking to be in an amazing position here. The opponent can dump off 3 Valplays into this aggressively overpowered tin can that I've built with amazing IVs. Look at this, I'm not even going to shield this up. I don't care. It's like, do you want a double shield to take switch? Go for it, buddy. Go for it, buddy. Venusaur does not care. We've got Frenzy Plant, we've got Sludge Bomb. Bring in your Noctowl, I'll nuke that thing. Well, actually, Noctowl, to be fair, I'll be fair, right? Noctowl is very tough, but of course we have Walrein and Venusaur, and we're looking to be in an amazing position here. 1 Frenzy Plant, we go for a CMP tie. I'm counting the moves. They get to foul plays in 6, 6, and then 5. And in comes Trevenant. How many Trevenants have you guys been seeing? I have not been seeing many, but, you know, what a coincidence. What a coincidence, we're just happening to see all these grass types every match, you know? What I notice, right, here's what I notice about it. I think it works on a set-by-set basis, right? So for an entire set, you're going to see the same thing over and over again. Like, in the final set that I played with this team, so I went really positive, by the way. I think I went, what did I go? 5-0, 4-1, 3-2, 3-2, I think. Something along those lines, so very, very positive nonetheless. But what I generally notice is you start to see the same Pokemon over and over again for an entire set. So in this particular set, we just seen a ton of grass types, and you're going to see, I think, in the next set, we start seeing a ton of Walreins and Venusaurs. And then in the following set, I started seeing a ton of Bastiodons. Like, literally every match there was a Bastiodon. Right now we're getting Sableye, which is quite interesting, so we're going to look to go for CMP tie on the Frenzy Plant. Of course, the opponent must not have known that they do not win CMP, but they're bound to find out, and they just let that go. They're about to find out that we're going to farm them down as well. Shield once, farm down. Venusaur claps this thing. In comes Walrein. Oh no, they're going to outpace us, or so they think, until we catch on our own bulky Walrus. Unfortunately, though, this time I did not get off the extra overfarm, and the opponent is up a shield, and I'm thinking here, okay, they're probably going to win CMP as well because they're a Shadow. I'm going to go for the Icicle Spear bait. The opponent calls it, or they do make a call and shield it, which is absolutely amazing. I'm going to shield up once here. 1 Earthquake would not quite take me out, I don't think, but it would come very, very close. We're going to look to fire off another Earthquake, and just basically guarantee the shield or the knockout. Then at that point, Venusaur can come in, and basically outpace to a Frenzy Plant. Yeah, so the opponent's going for the move. I think they went for a slight overfarm, so I was a little bit off track in energy here. So we're going to look to come in with Venusaur and just go for this move straight away. I'm not willing to take any risks with my Venusaur getting 1 shot here, and we'll see what the opponent comes in with. And I think they have a very low health Sableye, and in comes Quagsire! In comes Quagsire! They go for the catch. Very, very nice catch by the opponent here. And that's, you know, a little bit awkward, but, you know, it is what it is. I probably should have predicted that, but we make a catch of our own here. And look, this opponent can go for free Mud Bombs. Actually, free would take us out, so they're going to have to go for free Mud Bombs here. Mud Bomb number 2 coming through. Can we outpace to the Focus Blast here? Oh, it's getting super, super close, but this Registeel is just so overpowered that we're going to look to fire off a Focus Blast, and that's going to be a good game. So if the opponent had farmed us down, they would have won there, which is interesting. We're seeing Mud Boys in the back here, and in comes Clefable, amazing lead here, fairy lead, against our Poison type. Now, I make a bit of a misplay here. I should have just went for the Sludge Bomb. I end up shielding up the Meteor Mash here, and I look to go for Frenzy Plant. I farm up to 100 energy here, basically, and look to go for a Frenzy Plant. Now, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, from this range this will take out. It almost takes out, and I decide to come into Registeel to eat a Meteor Mash, and look to get ahead on energy. So, look, we're down a shield, but we're up a Frenzy Plant. We've drawn out the Deoxys, which is actually quite decent against Venusaur, to be fair. The counters are resisted, but the Psycho Boosts will hurt. So I'm happy enough to get this thing out of here, and look to put it into Frenzy Plant range. Yep, so we're getting this thing super, super low, and at this point the opponent's going to fire off a Thunderbolt, but we should maybe get to another move here. We do get to another Focus Blast, and that may force a shield off the opponent if they're not counting the lock-ons. Yeah, they're not counting the lock-ons, and even if they did let that through resisted, we would be able to easily farm it down at that point. I'm going to go straight for the move on CMP. I do not want to eat a Psycho Boost on this thing. The opponent shields it up. They do not want Venusaur in the back, so we're going to see what the opponent decides to do here. Rock Slide coming through, so they're using Thunderbolt and Rock Slide. So at this point, I know this thing is absolutely no threat whatsoever. They go for a catch on Clefable, they come back in with Deoxys, And this rock slide will hurt, but it's not going to be anything close to what, of course, a Psycho Boost would be. And in comes, what is this, some sort of a Mud Boy? Swampert, whatever it is. Any Mud Boy just gets one shot by this thing. You could probably one shot an Ultra League Quagsire with this Venusaur, it's so powerful. Of course, with the double super effective Frenzy Plant. Right, so hopping into the next game, the algorithm is coming for us, folks. We've got a Confusion lead, user in the lead, and in comes a fighter. Okay, the algorithm, guys, the algorithm's got me. It's got me. There's nothing I can do. I might as well just top left. Folks. Machamp, this thing is deadly though. They CMP me, and I want to get off this move because this thing is just so hard to deal with. Even with the resisted counters, it is just rough. So we're going to look to go ahead and fire for the Icicle Spear, get the final shield off the opponent. And I think what I might look to do is go for an aggressive farm down with Venusaur right here. We'll see what the opponent decides to do. So yep, in comes Venusaur. We're going to wait the clock down as well. Give ourselves a chance to swap out if the opponent comes in with something pretty negative for Venusaur. Rock Slide coming through. I'm super happy they went for the Rock Slide because, as you can see, they're getting to another cross chop right here, which if they'd done that the other way around, they would have took us out basically. A cross chop, but even though resisted, done a ton of damage. Now at this point, we can look to fire off a Frenzy Plant, which will do a crazy amount of damage here to the Hypno. In comes our Registeel. I'm hoping they don't have Focus Blast, but they do have a Granbull in the back, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to farm up to 100 energy, pretty much, and look to fire off the Zap Cannon, which will one-shot the Granbull. Back in comes Hypno. Now this thing can no Focus Blast and Shadow Ball. I don't think a Focus Blast will take them out, so I go for the Zap Cannon, and it's going to take out the Hypno as well. So guys, look, we lost lead, we lost swap, doesn't mean you're going to lose game, alright? So I ended up going 4-1 that set. In the final match of that set, what happened was I got a Trevenant lead and something else really bad for my team in the back. Can't remember what it was, but I edited that out because, you know, I'm just pretending that I'm winning all my matches in these videos. So in comes a Rock Slide. This is a bad matchup for Venusaur, the opponent to swap out here eventually, and we're almost up to the back-to-back Sludge Bombs. I believe Sludge Bomb is exactly 50 energy. I think you can actually store 2 of them. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that one, you guys can let me know. But in comes Tropius. We need to shield up 1 Leaf Blade here, and we're going to look to go for a slight overfarm here, and go for the Icicle Spear, which will one-shot this thing if they do let it go. They do let it go, and back in comes Galarian Stunfisk. Now, I know that 1 Earthquake or 1 Rock Slide will not take me out, so I can threaten to absolutely one-shot this thing, and we'll see what the opponent wants to do. We go for, again, a slight overfarm before they get to the Rock Slide, and look to fire off the EQ, which will one-shot them when they do let it go. In comes a Victory Bell, and it's like, oh my goodness, we're seeing yet another Grass type. Have I seen a Grass type almost every game? It seems like it. They come in, they see my Registeel, and they're like, yep, nope, that's not going to work. Even though resisted, all my moves, all their moves are resisted, and I'm just way too bulky. Actually, that was a 5-0 that set, so there you go, we're on easy mode. It was actually the first set I went 4-1, and I ended up getting a Trevenant. So we're just seeing, like I said, a lot of Grass types and a lot of funny Pokemon. Now I think this might be the second to last set. Now, in comes a Mew, right? Does anybody want to hazard a guess at what this moveset is going to be? Think about it, I've got a Venusaur in the lead. As soon as I seen this, I'm like, yep, 1,000,000%. This thing knows Flame Charge and Wild Charge. Like, without a doubt. They're not running Surf. I shield this immediately. I just knew it was going to be this because, you know, that's just what I'm anticipating from this game right now. Now, I think I do outpace and win CMP. But I don't really want to stay in here all day against this thing. So what they decide to do is probably a smart enough play, get the shield off me and go for Wild Charge. They come in with their own Venusaur, so it's like, right, we're seeing Venusaurs now, that's interesting. And I think what I might look to do is go for a catch on Registeel. That's going to do a ton of damage, and I don't think we can quite lock on this down, because even though these moves are resisted, you're about to see on the other side, Venusaur hits like a truck. Like, that's a resisted Frenzy Plant, and I've got a bulky Registeel. They're going to get us close to 50% health. We're in the yellow after 2 Frenzy Plants, which are resisted. We cannot lock on down this thing. I tried to go for an undercharge, but then I sort of, you know, chicken out of it a little bit and just get rid of this thing. Back in comes Mew. I'm expecting the Wild Charge to come through now. Arguably, I should have committed to the Focus Blast or to the Zap Cannon, but I do go for this because I thought they were going to fire off the move. Are they committing to the farm down? They're going for so much farm here. And guys, this is a 50-50 right now. I've got Walrein and I've got Venusaur. Which one of these 2 Pokemon is going to beat whatever's in the back? You make a guess right now. What I decide to do is come into Walrein, go into Venusaur, and catch the Wild Charge on Venusaur, thinking that I've got full health Walrein. They're either going to Flame Charge or Wild Charge. In comes Lantern, and unfortunately guys, they are going to one-shot us. So if I had made the opposite choice, I would have won this match, right? Come into Venusaur and then Peekaboo into the Walrein. But then, you know, the Lantern might have been able to farm it down. Actually, the Wild Charge probably would have one-shot. Yeah, so it comes very close. The Earthquake comes close to taking out. But good games to the opponent, and that was just basically down to a 50-50 call. Good games, and let's hop into the next one here. So honestly, like, if you guys see, like, sometimes I'll have a Pokemon that's weak to Poison type, and I'll see a Swampert in the lead, and they stay in. Like, I'll have a Grass type lead, and they'll stay in with Swampert, and I just know that they've got that. In comes a Venusaur, so that's a Venusaur 2 games in a row in this final set here. We're seeing Stunfisks now, like Venusaurs and Stunfisks. So I should have been able to make a proper call here. I did not make a good call. Venusaur and a Steel type. What do you think is going to be in the back? It's going to be another Steel type, right? I did not make this prediction at this point, and that was a big mistake by me. If I had made that prediction, I would have shielded the Registeel and maybe looked to, you know, retain some health from Walrein and stuff like that. See, the opponent even shields that, so they actually want rid of Registeel. So that's not looking too great for me here. I think what I might look to do is come in and go for a farm down with Walrein. This will be a Rock Slide or an Earthquake. Earthquake does more raw damage, and we're going to look to go for a farm down. Now, the opponent goes for a Snipe. Very nice play by the opponent. They did bank a ton of energy. We're going to come in and go for a Snipe of our own. I think I could have went for an Icicle Spear in this thing, and then maybe look to do this, but the opponent's going to get off another move, and I'm just hoping and praying that Walrein can take whatever's in the back here at this point. We farm it the whole way down, we've got a Frenzy Plant loaded. The opponent comes back in with Stunfisk. They must be weak to Venusaur in the back right. And it is a bloody Bastiodon. Like I said, we started just seeing a ton of Bastiodon in these last 2 sets. Like, I haven't been seeing them in the back in these sort of teams, and then suddenly I'm just seeing a ton of them. Again, I'm not complaining because I went positive, but this is a little bit awkward for me to deal with. I decided to farm up and just go for 2 Icicle Spears. Unfortunately, this is just resisted, and the opponent's going to be able to farm us down here. You're going to see this Icicle Spear coming through. Not going to do too much damage, and that last Smackdown that went through just take us out. Unfortunately, good games to the opponent, and they're using this Bastiodon. Yeah, I think in the final 2 sets, I've seen about 7 or 8 Bastiodons, and we've got a very good lead in Medicham and a very good swap in Sableye. We're going to go straight for the Frenzy Plant, and this is going to look to absolutely rip this thing to shreds. Are they going to shield it up? They do respect it. And look, again, we're outpacing this thing, and like, we don't exactly have an amazing answer to this Pokemon, but we don't exactly have an amazing answer to Medicham either, except for Venusaur. So at some point, we're going to look to swap out here. If I can one-shot them, I'll one-shot them. If not, I want to get both shields off the opponent, and then maybe look to overfarm a little bit. Actually, we're just going to take them out here at this point. I do quite like this play, and I realised that I could have done this a few times, so I wanted to play out this scenario to see how it would go. In comes a Charizard, which is definitely very awkward. We try to throw after 6, which is one before the Blast Burn. Actually, what I was trying to do was CMP the Blast Burn, I think, so that they're forced to, like, stay in and take it. Do you know what I mean? That's what I was trying to do there, I think. We go for multiple Icicle Spears in this thing. Now, what I decide to do here is, the opponent's going to farm me down, or so I thought, right? What I decide to do is leave the opponent in lock-on range. The opponent goes, I think that was an undercharge. I decide not to throw off my move because I want to lock on it down with Registeel. I can eat Psychics, I can eat anything in this, unless it's a Dynamic Punch, I guess, but they can't wing attack us down. And we're going to get in here, and the opponent does have a move loaded. Now, this is going to be a Dragon Claw, probably. Yep, of course, but we're already at the Zap Cannon. We're going to absolutely one-shot the Charizard, and I just recognize that my win condition is to Zap Cannon this thing, and that if I take out the Medicham with my Venusaur or with my Walrein, I'm not going to be able to farm up enough to Zap Cannon it before it gets to 2 Blast Burns, which will be threatening. And next game in here, we're seeing, like I said, a Venusaur again. Once again, I just think it's very funny that we're seeing so many of these, and we go for a catch on Registeel. So, a nice catch right here. We've basically farmed up a ton of energy. In comes another Galarian Stunfisk, and at this point we're going to look to go for a Focus Blast. We're a little bit ahead on energy, and we can outpace to the first one. The opponents get to these in 8 and 7, which will slightly outpace the Registeel. So if you're ahead by like 3 or 4 lock-ons, you can just completely outpace this thing. So what I decided to do is shield up and look to go for another one here, because we are a little bit ahead on lock-ons. The opponent will be forced to shield us if they don't want to get absolutely wrecked here, and I think at this point I decide to call a Rock Slide Bait, or decide to go for the farm down. I'm happy enough to go for either. The opponent does go for the Rock Slide Bait, and I think at this point I'm going to shield up once, and do I go for a lock on down? They go for the Earthquake. Yeah, I think I'm looking to lock on this down. I get up to 100 energy, come into Walrein, and look to get a farm down with Walrein. I'm not sure if this was the correct play. We do have to eat a Rock Slide, but that will take them out. If they come back in with Venusaur, we're ahead in energy, so we're most likely going to see what's in the bag. It's another Bastiodon. It's another Bastiodon. We're going to go for an Earthquake this time. We're in a much better position, right? Because we've got a Focus Blast loaded. Our Venusaur is still healthy, and we got off an Earthquake with the Walrein. So we're in a really good position here. We're going to look to go straight for the Focus Blast on this, which will look to almost one-shot the Bastiodon. Not quite, but it'll almost one-shot it. Now the opponent can go for a Flamethrower, and I'm more than happy with this at this point. We can actually, I think, did they undercharge that, or is my Registeel just that overpowered? And we're going to go for back-to-back moves on this thing. Now, I make a bit of a misplay here. I go for a Frenzy Plant thinking this would take them out. And believe it or not, they do survive this. I thought this would definitely take them out. This actually works out absolutely fine though, because I can live any one move, and it allows me to get a farm down on this, which will allow me to definitely, of course we're going to outpace the Bastiodon anyway, but we can definitely get to another Frenzy Plant, which will look to take this thing out. So if anybody's curious about this matchup, if you're running a high rank Venusaur versus a high rank Bastiodon, with a couple of Vine Whips of head start, you can beat this in the 2 shield. I think you would need like 5 Vine Whips head start to beat it in the 1 shield. So Bastiodon does win this, and this is quite an awkward lead right here. I think what I decide to do is farm up to the Frenzy Plant and probably catch this on the Tin Can. We're going to catch a resisted Body Slam on the Tin Can, which you absolutely love to see, and this thing can't really do too much to us now. Medicham's coming in, and we're going to look to fire off the Zap Cannon, but this thing's on Power Punch, which is super annoying, and I think this is going to be an awkward team to deal with. Let's have a look here. We're going to go for a Zap Cannon. Definitely a bit of an awkward lead and an awkward swap here. Let's see if we can somehow pull this off, but I think this is just looking super tough already. The opponent decides that they will not be able to commit to the farm down. I think he may have just got to the Focus Blast, would have been very close. And I think at this point, we're going to look to come in and CMP the opponent. The opponent didn't go for CMP maybe, and we're going to Frenzy Plant this thing. The opponent just let it go, and in comes another Bastiodon. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you see what I'm saying here? Like, I'm not making this shit up. Like, literally, we're not seeing any Bastiodons, and then for an entire 2 sets, we're seeing them every game in the back. It is just pretty wild, if you ask me, but that's absolutely fine, like I said. We're going to come into Walrein here, and look to threaten an Earthquake. I'm thinking at this range, like, they're getting pretty close to Icicle Spear. I know that from the last game, Icicle Spear won't quite do it, but I decided to go for the bait here. I think that's kind of like my win condition at this point. Maybe the opponent will go for a call, they do call it, and I can go for 2 Icicle Spears at this point, so like maybe we're okay here, and maybe I'm even able to farm this thing down. I think this must be quite an XL one, and in comes the Dragonair. Now what we need to do is get off multiple, and I mean multiple Icicle Spears. The opponent still has 2 shields. We're going to fire for the second one right here, and the opponent will unfortunately outpace us here. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to farm them down. I go for the catch, I unsuccessfully do so, and we're going to top left that match. Very well played by the opponent. I think they would have been at the move, I'm not 100% sure, but very well played. Actually, we ended up going 2-5 in that set, so that was my negative set here. But that's all fine, you know, you can't win them all, unfortunately. And here's a very interesting lead, Toxapex. I believe this is just a win for Venusaur. We'll actually have a quick look on PvPoke while we're watching this, but I think we just outpaced so much, and the worst they can do is neutral Sludge Bombs. So we're going to fire off multiple Frenzy Plants. I was actually just looking this up on PvPoke, and Toxapex is supposed to win this. So what I decided to do is just go for multiple moves on it, and look to like threaten shields or take it out. I'm very surprised. I honestly thought that Venusaur would win this match, because you're out spamming it. We do go down a shield, and do take it out, but I'll be looking to swap out here quite soon. We go into Registeel. I think debatably I should have went for multiple Sludge Bombs on this thing. Again, we're seeing another Grass type in the back, which, you know, it's not that common these days. We're going to go for a Zap Cannon. This will look to threaten a lot of damage. The opponent does let it go, and I think this just immediately swap out into Sableye. Now, will the opponent let me get off another move? They do not. And will I shield this? I actually might shield this. I mean, there's an argument to be made for shielding that, and I think we might look to come in with Venusaur, go for a Frenzy Plant, which would pretty much one-shot this thing, and we're looking to be in a very tough position. The opponent lets it go, which is amazing. We don't get to another move, unfortunately, and at this point, the opponent is going to go for foul play. Now, what I decide to do here is save a shield. They go for the return. We save a shield, and look, this is going to be a race. Shadow Claw versus Powder Snow. Who's going to win this race? It's getting close. We get a simul KO. So if one of us had a further move, we would have lost. And I recognized that, and my opponent recognized that. So very well played to the opponent. And I think I got myself out of a very tough situation there and got a draw. So I'm more than happy with that. Actually, I think in this final match, in this final set, I think I went... I won either 2 or 3 matches, and one of the matches was a draw as well. Frenzy Plant coming for you, absolutely wrecks the Stunfisk. Now, I am going to respect what is a potential Earthquake right here, which would one-shot the Venusaur. I'm so happy they went for that move, because that puts us in a much more dominant position, and a much more comfortable position. Now, I think what I might like to do is go for a catch here, potentially, or maybe I'm just looking to get rid of this thing. Let's have a look. I think I'm just looking to get rid of it. They go for Earthquake number 2, the opponent's not baiting. You'd love to see that. Good plays by the opponent not baiting. We're going to look to farm up to 1 before the Rock Slide. I don't want to CMP them because they might be tempted, and I want to give myself a chance to swap out and catch a Rock Slide, which even though super effective, it doesn't, you know, oh, it's another Earthquake, never mind. In comes Medicham, and it's really good that we've drawn this out. You do sort of have to keep your Venusaur alive for Medicham, even though Registeel can Zap Cannon it and get a shield off it. Venusaur is your main answer to this thing. Now, what I decide to do, Venusaur is my answer to this Pokemon, but they know Psychic and Ice Punch, and they're head energy, they insta-throw what is maybe going to be a Psychic, let's hope. They insta-throw the Psychic, which is amazing, and we're going to look to basically dry up all of their energy here. and at this point, I think we'll look to swap out and just outpace with Venusaur. Okay, so they went for a Power Punch. At this point, I know I'm going to outpace. We look to try and throw off before they get to a Psychic. I know their moveset. This is absolutely fine. We go for a Slide Over Farm. In comes a Alolan Ninetales with Charm. And ladies and gents, this is not going to one-shot. If it was a Shadow, this would one-shot, but it's good enough for me. At this point, we're just farming down at an equal pace. We're going to come out with almost a Frenzy Plant, and that will one-shot, of course, whatever's in the back. Good games to the opponent. And there's Venusaur for you folks. I really enjoyed this Pokemon. Super strong pick. I highly recommend trying it. It's got amazing coverage, hits like a truck, and it's just such a fun Pokemon to use. Like I said, been pretty positive of this team, and thank you for watching to the end. It's a super long video today. If you did enjoy today's video, hit that like button, subscribe, and put on notifications, guys, on the channel. I'm going to be uploading some Haxorus gameplay later today. I'm saving all my sets for Haxorus, so keep an eye out for that. Coming in probably about 8 hours after this video goes up, you'll see a video on Haxorus with the new move Breaking Swipe. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Thank you everybody for the support in the videos. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.